Multiple tropical systems across Australian waters this weekend. Development likely in the Coral Sea. Possible cyclone threat for Western Australia. Heavy rainfall continuing across Queensland. That's the situation we are dealing with. I've examined the latest from the Bureau of Meteorology, analysed the numerical forecast models, and there is a lot to cover. This is a complex tropical setup with several systems demanding attention. Right now, remnants of ex-tropical cyclone Koji are wrapping themselves up across northwestern Queensland. The low-pressure system sits on the border between the Northern Territory and northwestern Queensland, tracking northwest. By this weekend, it's expected to move over the Darwin area through the top end. And here is what makes this interesting. The system may survive as a coherent low, which means redevelopment remains possible. Whether the Bureau classifies this as Koji continuing or designates it as Tropical Low 16U is still up for debate. If the low unravels and connects back to the monsoon trough, it'll get a new designation. Either way, the forecast doesn't change. The top end is in for an exceedingly wet weekend, particularly around Darwin, but that's not the immediate threat. Right now, across central and southwestern Queensland, showers and thunderstorms are developing. There is a line of convergence ongoing through the Mackay region into the Whitsundays and Central Coast. This delivered heavy rainfall overnight to the Clark Ranges and exacerbated flooding concerns that have been building over the last couple of days. We've got clashing airflows, northwest flow meeting easterly flow around the Hughenden Charters Towers area. In this convergence zone over the next couple of hours, we're re-expecting an explosion of strong thunderstorms. These will translate to very heavy rainfall across central northern Queensland, just outside the Central Highlands and coalfields. More into the Gulf country, southwest of Townsville, down toward Longreach along this convergence line. The numerical forecast models are showing this clearly. Some locations tonight could see rainfall totals above 100 millimetres. One or two spots might approach 250 millimetres. These are tropical downpours in their full glory. Peak wet season has arrived. Flash flooding is a real concern tonight. The worst rainfall should steer clear of northwestern Queensland, areas that have already been flood-ravaged lately, but central Queensland is about to cop it. The flooding concerns are connecting up through this corridor, and substantial river rises are expected, particularly tonight. Now let's talk about what is developing offshore, because this is where things get more complex. Out in the Coral Sea, we've got Tropical Low 14U. This system is heading northeast, expected to develop slowly over the next couple of days as it approaches Vanuatu. The forecast models then show it making a U-turn back toward New Caledonia. And here, where it gets interesting, there, now a chance of tropical cyclone development. Not a strong system, mind you. Category 1, possibly Category 2, maybe Category 3. Given that this system is expected to be quite large, you can see it's already pretty broad and messy right now. But as it heads toward New Caledonia, development and intensification are expected. It'll cross over New Caledonia, then be pushed back down toward Norfolk Island and New Zealand by the jet stream. For those on Norfolk Island, you mentioned you are a bit dry. This system may bring you some rain, though the timing and intensity are still uncertain. Worth monitoring over the next few days. The jet stream positioning means this cyclone can move much closer to Australia than where that steering current sits. It can turn toward Australia, but it can cross that boundary. So the direct threat to the Australian mainland from this particular system remains low. But here is what we need to watch as this system develops and moves. It is going to strengthen the monsoon trough. That strengthening monsoon trough connects to another developing system out in the Coral Sea closer to our coastline. This is where far northern Queensland comes into the picture. Early next week, we're re-looking at the development of a monsoonal low-pressure system offshore in the Coral Sea. The Access model and the European model both agree on this. There is moisture coming down through the monsoon into the Arafura Sea, then eventually into the Gulf of Carpentaria. This will promote heavy shower and thunderstorm activity through the Carpentaria coast.
For Cape York Peninsula, things stay a bit drier through Saturday and Sunday, though you'll still see some showers and thunderstorms, particularly through the Cassowary coast, where converging winds from the south and west will trigger activity. But it's not until early next week when the monsoonal low really takes shape offshore, and this is where the forecast gets uncertain. We've got two possibilities here, and they lead to very different rainfall outcomes for far northern Queensland. If the low develops in the Gulf of Carpentaria, far northern Queensland sees limited rainfall. If it develops further east in the Coral Sea, far northern Queensland sees maximal rainfall. Right now the models are showing both scenarios as possible. This is the zone of uncertainty for the next 10 days. What is certain, a tropical low will develop in this region. What is uncertain, exactly where, exactly when, and what impacts result. For those across far north Queensland who've been dealing with heat and humidity, you know the pattern. 34 degrees at Mount Carbine this morning at 10 a.m. with 85% humidity. Minimum overnight of 28 degrees, no rain. Extreme heat that persisted all night. That is the build-up in full effect. Darwin, you've had rain since 6 a.m. and it doesn't look like slowing down. That's only going to intensify this weekend as the low moves through. Now let us shift focus to Western Australia, because there is a developing situation there that needs attention. The remnants of tropical cyclone Koji, as they move through the Northern Territory, may split. Part of that energy could be dragged out into the Arafura Sea, eventually becoming the Queensland system we just discussed. The other half of that energy could move into the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf and the Timor Sea, potentially becoming another tropical cyclone offshore from Darwin. Whether Koji's remnants actually make it to the Indian Ocean is still up for debate, but either way, we've got two scenarios that are non-negotiable: a rainfall depression at minimum associated with the monsoon, and a potential tropical cyclone in the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf after about the 20th of January. Yes. What concerns me about Western Australia, if any system gets itself offshore into the Indian Ocean, it is going to have a birthday party. The conditions are exceptionally favourable. Sea surface temperatures approaching 32 degrees Celsius, close to the coastline, 31 degrees in the open ocean. Wind shear is minimal, between 5 to 10 knots, which is perfect for tropical cyclone development, just enough to enhance outflow without tearing the system apart. The current atmospheric soundings show wind shear in the mid-levels is basically zero. Very high humidity coming in from the deep tropics. If something gets offshore, there's not much to stop it apart from the system itself. The tropical storm strike probability maps for the week of 19th January through 26th January show high chances offshore from Western Australia. The colours move from purple and red for low chance through green for moderate into blue for high chance. Western Australia S coastline is showing blue. That S a solid indication. The tropical low potential map shows the same story. High chances in the Kimberley area. This is non-negotiable. We are going to see some kind of tropical low or tropical cyclone attempt to spin up offshore from the Kimberley coastline. Whether it S remnants of Koji or a completely different system designated as 16U, we'll have to wait and see. For those living along the Kimberley or Pilbara coastline, you are not in panic mode. You don't need to make preparations right now, but this serves as an important reminder that we are now in the back half of tropical cyclone season. Significant storms are likely across the Kimberley and Pilbara from this time of year onward. You need to have your tropical cyclone plans ready to go at a moment's notice. You need to be monitoring the forecast daily. This situation could develop anywhere between Karatha up toward Kununurra or Wyndham. The possibilities are wide open, or it may not occur at all. Check your emergency kit. Know your evacuation routes. Secure loose items around your property before any system arrives. If you re in a caravan or temporary structure, identify solid shelter now. Don't wait until a cyclone watch is issued. Many of you remember Cyclone Tracy, Christmas Eve 1974, winds up to 217 kilometres per hour. Darwin was destroyed. This potential system won't reach those extremes based on current modelling, but any tropical cyclone demands respect and preparation. Let's talk about the broader pattern, because understanding the meteorology helps you understand why these systems are developing now.
We in peak wet season for northern Australia. The monsoon trough is active and strengthening. The Madden-Julian oscillation is in a favourable phase for tropical development across our region. Sea surface temperatures are well above average right across northern Australian waters. That S fuel for these systems, the jet stream positioning is steering systems in ways that create these complex interactions. High pressure systems to our south are blocking southward movement, which means systems that develop in the tropics tend to linger or move westward rather than being swept out to sea. This is why we're seeing multiple threats simultaneously: the Coral Sea system, the potential Gulf of Carpentaria development, the Western Australia threat. They were all connected to the same large-scale atmospheric pattern. The Indian Ocean dipole is currently neutral, which means we don't have strong forcing one way or the other from that climate driver. But the monsoon itself is strong enough to generate significant activity without additional help. For southeast Queensland, you've been asking about rain. Brisbane's been particularly dry this summer. Right now, these tropical systems are staying north. The convergence zones and monsoon activity are focused on central and northern Queensland. Southeast Queensland remains in a pattern of isolated afternoon storms at best. That may change next week if the Coral Sea low tracks southward, but current modelling suggests it stays north. The subtropical ridge keeps reasserting itself across your area, maintaining the dry pattern. Not ideal for the dams, but that is the current setup. For those in southern states commenting about the cool change, you are in a completely different weather pattern. Cold fronts from the Southern Ocean are sweeping across Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania, bringing that relief from the heat. Sydney S caught in the middle, getting neither the tropical moisture nor the consistent cool changes. The temperature contrast across Australia right now is massive. Darwin at 35 degrees with high humidity, Hobart barely reaching 15. That is a 20-degree spread, and it shows just how different the weather patterns are between northern and southern Australia. Let's bring this back to the practical aspects, because that's what matters over the weekend and into next week. For central and northern Queensland tonight through Friday, heavy rainfall likely. Flash flooding possible. Do not drive through floodwater. If it is flooded, forget it. That is not just an SES slogan, it is critical safety advice. More people drown in their vehicles than in their homes during floods. The Peru and Diamantina River catchments are already showing flooding concerns. If you in these areas, monitor the Bureau of Meteorology flood warnings. River levels can rise rapidly with this kind of rainfall intensity. For the top end this weekend, widespread heavy rain. Darwin area particularly affected. Urban flooding possible. Check your stormwater drains aren't blocked. Secure outdoor furniture and equipment. Stock up on essentials before the worst weather arrives, not during. For far north Queensland, early next week, uncertainty remains about exactly where the heaviest rain falls. Monitor the situation daily. The forecast will become clearer by Saturday as the models converge on a solution. Either way, some areas of far north Queensland will see substantial rainfall. Be prepared for potential flooding. For Western Australia, from next week onward, monitor the tropical cyclone outlook daily. No preparations needed yet, but awareness is critical. If a cyclone watch is issued, you will have time to prepare. But having your plan ready now means you can act quickly when needed. Check your cyclone kit batteries, torch, battery-powered radio, first aid supplies, essential medications, important documents in waterproof container, 3 days of non-perishable food and water. If you don't have these ready, now's the time to sort it out. Not when a cyclone watch is 12 hours away and the shops are stripped bare. For livestock owners across northern Australia, ensure animals have access to high ground if flooding threatens. Check water supplies. Secure or relocate equipment that could be damaged or become projectiles in strong winds. For those planning travel across northern Australia next week, check road conditions before you leave. Flooding can close highways rapidly. Remote areas may be cut off for days or weeks. Carry extra fuel, water and supplies. Tell someone your travel plans and expected arrival times. For commercial operators, particularly in marine and aviation sectors, monitor the tropical low developments closely. Sea conditions will deteriorate as these systems develop. Flight operations may be affected by low cloud and thunderstorm activity. This is a developing situation. The models will continue to refine the forecast over the next 48 hours. The Bureau of Meteorology will issue tropical cyclone watches and warnings as needed. Pay attention to those official warnings. What we know for certain, multiple tropical systems are developing across Australian waters. Heavy rainfall is already occurring in Queensland and will continue. The monsoon is strengthening. Tropical cyclone development is likely in multiple locations over the next week. What remains uncertain, exact positions, exact timing, exact intensities. That's the nature of tropical meteorology. We can identify the patterns and the potential, but the specifics become clearer as systems actually develop. The key for you is situational awareness. Don't panic, but don't be complacent either. We in the part of the year when significant tropical weather is normal for Northern Australia. That is not fear-mongering. It is simply acknowledging the season we in. Check the Bureau of Meteorology website regularly. Monitor local emergency services social media for updates. Have your ABC local radio frequency programmed into your radio for emergency broadcasts. This weekend, the focus is on the top end and central Queensland. Early next week, the focus shifts to far north Queensland and potentially Western Australia. The situation will continue to evolve. I'll be monitoring the models closely and providing updates as the forecast develops. The next significant model run that might provide clarity will be tonight's run, with results available tomorrow morning. That should give us a better picture of where the Coral Sea low will develop and whether the Western Australia threat becomes more or less likely. For now, if you're in an area likely to be affected, take this seriously, but don't overreact. Prepare sensibly, monitor officially, stay safe. That's the situation as it stands. Multiple systems, multiple threats, but manageable if you are prepared.